Good morning, everybody. My name is Amberly. We are so glad that you've joined us. We like to start off our services by singing songs filled with truths about God. So if you're able, why don't you stand and sing? The song is called Firm Foundation.
Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand, and everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. I've still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense. So I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength, 'cause I build my life on Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful in every season. So why would he fail now? He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand, when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. Take a seat.
Hello everyone, my name is Spencer and it is great to be here with you all today. If you're new to Southside, whether you're watching online or here in person, we want to give you a big welcome. We want you to know that we exist for you, no matter how you walked in today or what questions you have about God, church, or life. We're just really glad you chose to spend some of your time with us. We'd also love to hear from you, and it's super easy. Just text the keyword hello to us at 604-670-3040. When you do, we'll send a link to our digital connections card. It's a great way for us to get to know you better, answer any questions you might have, and make sure your experience with us has been amazing. Plus, as a little welcome here gift, after you fill it out, we'll send you a $5 Starbucks e-card. And at the end of today's service, we get to celebrate as people in our church take their next step of baptism. As always, keep in mind that you don't have to be pre-registered to get baptized. We have a change of clothes and towels for you. So if you believe in Jesus and you want to take this next step, we'll help you get it done. More details to come at the end of the service, but we're so excited to celebrate with you all today. Now is the time to sign up for the biggest and the brightest thing our church has ever done. It's November, so that means that All is Bright season is here. Last Christmas, our church gave $350,000 back to our city through our All is Bright initiative. This year, God has challenged us to give even more, $500,000 to ensure that no single parent in Chilliwack would struggle to provide food for their family over Christmas, and no child would wake up Christmas morning without a gift. Last year, the amount of food and gifts from Southside was the equivalent of deliveries made to 3 houses on every street in Chilliwack, and this year will be even more. We've already had a landslide of stories come in from families, and they need every single one of us to step up this Christmas. One mom said, "Over this past year, there have been many changes for my children and I. We've had many financial struggles and face eviction almost every month as I decide between shelter and food. I've been off work for over a year to care for my daughter after she was victimized. We are working with victim services and are preparing for trial. Thank you for being a church who helps others." Another said, "I work 2 jobs, sometimes 16 to 18-hour days to make sure I can provide what I can for my child. Things are already pretty tight financially, and food is for sure something that I worry about this time of year. I always make sure she has what she needs, even if it means I go without. She still believes in the magic of Christmas, and I want to keep that alive for her as long as possible." And another parent said, "My son has had many heart surgeries and recently has had a scoliosis repair surgery. For this reason, I'm without a job at this moment and I need to take care of him. He loves music and would love a new jacket, but anything helps." These are stories from people all around you, in this church and in our city. They need you and we need each other to step up and give. At Southside, we believe that sacrificing our time and our money to participate in All is Bright is quite literally the difference between life and death for some of these families. Life is incredibly hard, and for so many people who are writing in, they're running out of hope. You and I, we can be the answer to their prayers this Christmas. When you step out and sacrifice what you can so that other people can simply have Christmas, God takes what we give and He multiplies it. He'll transform your life and restore hope to the hopeless this Christmas through you. Just you wait and see. Again, this All is Bright is going to take every single one of us without exaggeration. So what can you do today? Start by texting the keyword BRIGHT right now to 604-670-3040. Can I urge you to give whatever you feel would be a sacrifice to you so that you can sacrifice for others? I don't know what that number looks like to you, but God does. My wife and I are committing to sacrificially give to this vision over and above our regular tithing, and I invite you to join us. Give online or visit the giving desk in the lobby before you go home today, because the generosity of every one of us really, really matters. Secondly, please sign up to shop, wrap, and deliver gifts. And invite your friends and your family to do it with you. You don't need to call this church home or even believe in God to participate in giving and volunteering for All Is Bright. So all are welcome. And finally, if you're someone in our church family who needs help for your family this Christmas, your next step is to reach out and request help in the form of food and gifts this Christmas. We see you, we love you, and we are with you. To see all the options to give, to volunteer, or to request, text the keyword pray. All right, it's time to dive into today's message. A quick reminder to silence your phones and to remain seated throughout the message as we maintain a distraction-free environment in the auditorium and for those watching online today. Today, we get to hear from Pastor Mike and Corinne as they answer the questions you guys have asked about relationships, singleness, marriage, and parenting. It's going to be so good, so get excited. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the service.
Well, morning, everybody. Whether you are joining us online or in person, we're just so glad you're here. Hey, can you please join me in, again, welcoming my wife, Corinne, to the stage?
Thank you. It's so fun to be here. Even more fun when we get to speak together.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
so fun.
we're doing a 4-part Q&A. Okay, so full disclosure, we're doing it this week, obviously. Here we are. Next week, we're taking a week off, and then the following 3 weeks. Okay, so we've had just about 200 questions come in already. I want to explain how we're going to be answering them. If the Bible speaks to the question directly, we will tell you exactly what the Bible says. In a case where the Bible does not speak directly to the question, we're going to look for principles in the Bible that speak to that specific question. And finally, we just spent almost a year journeying through the Old Testament book of Proverbs. Proverbs is a book of wisdom. So we're going to ask ourselves in every situation, what's the wise thing to do? Remember, wisdom, we said, is to discover and live in light of this pattern called reality, because you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. So we won't be able to answer all 200 of the questions, but please, if you don't hear word for word the question that you asked, many times what we did is we took one question, but it represents like a lot more. For example, we're doing one question today, okay? So it represents about 15 other questions. And there's principles we're going to address today, which actually represent wisdom, pour wisdom into all the questions that came in. So we thought we'd start with something easy and not controversial.
New people. Remember, you wanted to say a couple of things to new people.
Yeah, see, but here's the thing. First, I'm going to read the question. Then I'm going to tell new people that they're going to think it's going to be boring, but it's not.
Forgot. Continue.
Can we please welcome my wife, Corinne, to the stage again? So good to have you, Corinne. So here it is. Explain the concept of headship submission as per the verse. Wives, submit to your husbands. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church.
We thought we'd start light.
Yeah. So again, maybe you're tuning in online or you're here in person and you're kind of new to the whole church thing. You're still trying to figure it out and you're thinking right now, who cares? You know what I mean? And what I would suggest, though, is the answer to that question is you actually do. There's a ton of debate and controversy and strife in our culture today over gender roles. And specifically, maybe one of the reasons why you haven't been in church or you've taken so long to kind of give church a chance is because you have this concept that church is really misogynistic, patriarchal, and that men just kind of lord it over the women in church. I want to suggest to you, first of all, that we apologize if that's what you've come to believe or that's what you've witnessed or that's what you've seen. But that's not what God says. And that's not what the Bible says. So I think you're actually going to love it as we kind of walk through what the Bible actually says about this topic.
So I'm going to start by reading the passage that all of these questions are based on. So it's in Ephesians 5, starting in verse 21. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Now, I have a feeling that as I was reading those words, it was rankling some of you. I have to admit, I get a little bit rankled even when I read these
I'd like
words.
to submit a question, Corinne.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, thank you. What does rankle mean?
It's a British word, okay? It's on my British TV shows. I love it. We don't have a word like that. It means like gets under your skin, agitates you a little bit.
Okay.
It's a good word.
It frosts your flakes.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Look at the Mikeism.
Thank you so
much. It frosts
much.
your flakes. Wow, I love that so much.
It shreds your wheat, so to speak.
Frost your flakes. You say that all the time. You know that, right?
I do?
Well, obviously. Like,
yeah, okay, there you go.
Everybody knew that. Okay. Anyways, that's awesome. Okay, so there's lots of things in the Bible that I don't fully understand, like that passage. Like, I don't 100% understand the concepts. And sometimes it rankles me, right? When I look around and I see the way that this passage is taken out of context and misused. So when that happens to me, when I feel like I don't fully understand it, or I feel a little bit agitated by something in the Bible, I never say, oh, well, God must be mistaken then. Or he just doesn't know what it's like to live in 2024, right? No, I trust God, and I know that when I really work hard at understanding what he's asks us to do, when I try to apply the biblical principles to my life and my decisions and my relationships, I know that I'm going to thrive, and I know that the people around me are going to thrive too, and that's not just head knowledge, that's also my lived experience.
Yeah, so here's a really, really important principle. We need to ask ourselves this question. So, who wrote the Bible? And the answer to that is God. Now, God inspired human authors, but God's the author. Well, now the next question has to be this, right? Well, then who's God? And that's a tough one, isn't it? Because there are people in here today, there are people watching online today, and maybe you've come to the conclusion that God is sort of a cosmic killjoy. And really, your job then is to get away with as much as you can get away with to try to keep God from wrecking your fun. Or maybe there's other people here, and you would say, man, you kind of see God as a drill sergeant, a dictator who wants to bully us into obedience. So I want to say right now, here's a principle for you. That's not the God of the Bible. God's not a cosmic killjoy, and God's not a drill sergeant. God, instead, is a loving father. Time out. That's a tough concept for many people here and watching online. You might say to me, I never had a father. Or there's some people who would say, well, I kind of wish I never would have had a father because the father I had wasn't loving. So what we talk about at Southside all the time, what we're going to talk about throughout these 4 weeks, is that God is the father that for many of you, the father you wish you had. But beyond that, perfect, absolutely, completely loving. And he doesn't want to wreck your fun. And he doesn't want to bully you into obedience. You know what he wants to do? He wants to invite you into blessing. That's who wrote the Bible. So when I come to a passage that rankles me or frosts my flakes a little bit, I'll look at that through the lens of a God who invites me into blessing. So then all of a sudden it's not like, what do I gotta do? It's what do I get to do as I follow this God who invites me into blessing?
And it's also worth noting that in the Bible, this concept of headship and submission is only found in one context, and that's in the discussion of a Christian marriage. It was never meant to be taken society-wide. It was never meant to mean that women in general need to submit to men in general. That's not the context this discussion of headship and submission is. It's only in one, and that's within Christian marriage.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read a bit of that passage out of the Message, which I find a lot easier to understand. Verse 21, out of respect for Christ, be courteously reverent to one another. Wives, understand and support your husbands in ways that show your support for Christ. The husband provides leadership to his wife the way Christ does to his church, not by domineering, but by cherishing. So just as the church submits to Christ as he exercises such leadership, wives should likewise submit to their husbands.
Once in a while, someone will ask you a question, and you kind of know you can't answer it. You want an example? If someone walks up to you and says, why are you such an idiot? No good answer to that one, right? Or sometimes someone will ask you a question, and you'll learn a lot about them by the question they asked you. Example, someone walks up to you and says, hey, did you know the moon landing was faked? You know, you know a lot about that person when they ask that question. I'm not saying good or bad. You just know a lot about them. Yeah, okay. Now, I want to tell you about my experience in all of my years of leadership. When a man walks up to me and says, hey, can we talk about headship and submission? I'm not saying this is always the case. I'm talking about in my life. Not once has that man asked that question because he's saying, you know what? I just really want to know how I can lay down my life for my wife better. I just want to know how I can cherish her better, how I can bring the best out of her. You know, Corinne began reading a passage. I want to continue that same passage as it addresses husbands. Listen to this. Husbands, go all out in your love for your wives, exactly as Christ did for the church. A love marked by giving, not getting. Christ's love makes the church whole. His words evoke her beauty. His words evoke her beauty. Everything he does and says is designed to bring the best out of her, dressing her in dazzling white silk, radiant with holiness. And that's how husbands ought to love their wives. They're really doing themselves a favor since they're already one in marriage.
When I hear Mike read those words, it's so surprising how often that this verse is taken out of context, that it's taken to be some sort of like divine trump card. Like, I'm not talking about Donald here, right? You guys know playing cards and you have the trump suit, right? And it wins. So often that this concept of headship is used by husbands, not often, sometimes, as a trump card to like shut down any discussion, to win arguments, to like avoid having to work on something that maybe their wife has said, you know, this is something that's hurting our family, like, can you work on it? And it's like, nope, gonna play the who's the boss trump card, and it just shuts everything down. I heard a quote by the theologian Timothy Keller when I was listening to one of his sermons, and he said it this way: headship in marriage isn't something you can take, it can only be received. It can only be earned. And that's really profound when you think about it. The concept of headship or leadership, which I think makes a lot more sense, is never something that the husband takes. It's something that the wife gives.
Like, that's powerful, right?
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that we got that today. That headship cannot be demanded. It cannot be taken. It can only be earned. It can only be received. That's profound. See, what surprises me a little bit, if you read this passage carefully, is that it doesn't rankle men a little bit more. Like, this is a big deal. This is calling men to take, not headship, but take something called responsibility, and it's a big responsibility. And I'm not here to say down with men. No, I'm saying what a beautiful opportunity. If you're a single guy out there, I want to tell you something. It's a beautiful, joyful responsibility. But make no mistake, it's a responsibility. our role model is who? Jesus. Did Jesus take responsibility? When he saw me helpless and hopeless, when he saw me lost in my sin, lost in despair, did he take responsibility? You know what he did? He left eternity and stepped into history. He left majesty and he endured death on a cross. He died and rose again for me and for you. And here's what's so interesting. I want you to think about this. He took responsibility, but he won't take anything else from you. He's not gonna force you to do anything. Here's a simple example. When you walked in today, when you tuned in online today, what if all of a sudden the second you sat down in your chair, you were just locked in automatically? You had no choice. Your mind was just locked in. You had to listen to every word of every song thoroughly. You had to listen to everything that Corinne said completely. You had to listen to everything even I said completely. That would be weird, but God doesn't work that way, right? You can do whatever you want during this sermon.
You could fill your Amazon cart if you want. Go for it. Play Candy Crush.
Well, I mean, probably don't do that. We're not recommending you do that, but I mean, you could.
Not in the front couple rows anyways. We'd bust you.
So Jesus doesn't demand that from us. Leadership then must be received. So we come to a point where we say, Jesus, we believe that you are inviting us into blessing. We give you our trust. And then we said this, that leadership, headship can only be earned. And maybe there's a part of you going, what? You're saying that Jesus has to earn my love? That Jesus has to earn my love? He already did. He already did, right? He came for you. He died for you. He rose again for you.
Yeah, but we choose. We choose to give him leadership.
Yeah.
And also just please know, like, the focus of this particular question is very much like the man's responsibility. We're not saying the wife doesn't have any responsibility. We'll get to that in future weeks, okay?
Will we ever?
He can't wait. So we were really racking our brains trying to think of like specific examples from our marriage where this concept has played out. And was there ever times when, we just really could not agree on something, and so I would give him the tie-breaking vote sort of thing. And it never actually played out exactly like that. Most of our decisions were made together. Like I remember he started out his career as a teacher and a coach, and 11 years into that, he just came to me one day and said, I feel like God has told me that my time as a teacher is coming to an end. And I mean, that was a little stressful because it's not like there was another job offer or anything. It was just like, this is ending. Okay, so what's next? But I trusted God, first of all. And I also trusted that Mike actually was seeking God for his life and seeking his will. He wasn't playing some weird God card that he wanted to quit his job and be lazy or whatever, right? Like, I just knew he wouldn't do that. I knew he would always provide for us. He would never put us in a situation where we were struggling. So I trusted Mike and I trusted God. And then we made the decision together.
Yeah, I think that's important to note. So I came to Corinne with that. Then we prayed about it together. And then we brought it to our small group together. And our small group prayed about it. And somewhere along the line, in the midst of that, Southside approached us and asked if I would be willing to come on as youth pastor. And together we prayed, and we decided that we would make that our next step.
Yeah. And I do, whenever we tell stories like this, I feel like a bit of a fraud because I don't want you guys to think, oh, they're pastors and they're perfect and they've always, mutually done everything. Everything's been great forever. Please know that that's not the case. We've been married 33 years and it's taken a lot of work.
I've had to put up with a lot over 33 years.
Poor guy. Poor guy. Just so you know, we have had many issues, which we will get to probably in greater detail in the coming weeks. I'm sure we will. But I'm going to tell another story quickly about, and I think this is a better example of when I didn't actually say it, but I gave Mike the tie-breaking vote. And it was about 15 or 16 years ago. And it was about 3 months into our adoption. We adopted 2 boys from Haiti. And it was just a very overwhelming situation for everybody involved, and especially me. I was really struggling. and I was like finding it hard to get out of bed in the morning. I felt like my limbs weighed 1,000 pounds. Like I felt like the tears were like right here all the time. And I was just not doing well. I went to the doctor and he did this little quiz with me and said, well, you have something called post-adoption depression, which I didn't even know was a thing. And Mike came home from work one day and he just said, I booked us a week away and I arranged childcare and we're leaving tomorrow. And I said, well, no, we can't. Like all the adoption books say that we can't go away for at least a full year after you adopt or, you know, the sky's gonna fall.
I was just gonna say, so my perspective in that moment was, I understand that the books say this, but I'm not sure what we're gonna do if Corinne doesn't make it through this process. So that was kind of my thinking.
I'm so sorry, I've been coughing for 2 months. Now what do I have to say, Mike? Oh yeah. So in that moment, I was saying, no, we can't go. And he was packing my suitcase, probably with all the wrong things. And then we went. So I did give him the tie-breaking vote. I didn't say, you are the head of me, and here I will give you the deciding vote. Like those words weren't spoken, but that's how it played out. Because he cared about me, and he cared about our family.
Yeah, and how'd it go?
And looking back, that week away, like I don't remember a lot about, he's like, yeah, so was I right? Yeah, how right was I exactly?
Do tell, Corinne, do tell.
So I don't remember a lot about it, but I do remember, how many people remember Louis Giglio? You remember those DVDs, The Indescribable Tour? See, we're old. Man, not even one person? Louis Giglio, guys. Hey, I see those hands. There we go. We had brought along those DVDs, and I just remember laying on the couch watching one of them. And there was just this moment where he held out his hand and he said, God just wants you to know he's got you in the palm of his hand and he's never gonna let you go. And in that moment, it was like God was like, you know how you just know sometimes? Those weren't just words. That was God speaking right to my heart. Mm-hmm. And I clung to that like a life preserver, and I brought that promise back with me into like a really, really tough time. It's not like everything got immediately better, but it was what I needed. I just needed to know that God saw me, he was with me, and he wasn't gonna leave me.
Do you want to tell the homeschooling story?
I really don't want to tell this story because, you know, there's some that you can be vulnerable in front of everyone. This one is downright embarrassing, humiliating even. I cringe to tell it, but I'm gonna tell it, okay? Yeah, I am gonna tell it, I have to now. So it was right in that same era, a little bit farther along, and I was homeschooling a few of our kids at the time. And like I said, I was struggling. I wasn't really doing well, and I had mailed it in, and I didn't really realize what a bad job I was doing. But I was doing a really bad job. I was taking lots of naps while the kids did their schoolwork.
They were playing RuneScape and playing road hockey during the naps.
How many people remember RuneScape with the hours of chopping wood?
More hands. I like that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Lots of RuneScape.
Chop wood. Yeah, you got it.
Lots of bike riding. Anyways, Emma came to me at that time and she said, Mommy, my brain is empty. Oh, this is so terrible and so embarrassing. But anyway, so Mike, he came home and he's like, you know what? It's time for the kids to go back to school. Like, we're gonna enroll them. Let's talk together about what schools we should put which kids in and everything. And I didn't even argue. I was just like, that's a really good idea. So that was another example where, like, yeah, he just sort of intervened when it really needed to be done. Oh, and they all went to university.
Yeah, good job.
In spite of it.
Because of it.
Yeah, well, whatever. So I'm not gonna take credit.
There's another story that I've told that you might think was me playing a trump card, but I thought I'd explain it and let Corinne tell her side of the story. So I've told before about the time that Corinne and I unexpectedly found out that we had $30,000 sitting in a TFSA.
Remember this story?
And so we spent like 3 weeks just talking. Hey, what can we spend that money on? And we were having so much fun. And then one day I went for a bike ride near the river. There's a part where the path goes away from the river into the forest. And I sat down on this bench and I was praying and spending time with God. And it just felt like God spoke to me, like to the core of me. Hey, just give that $30,000 to the church. And we had already given generously, sacrificially over and above that year. But God just said, give the $30,000 to the church. And I was so excited. I rode my bike home, and that's how you ride a bike, Corinne, okay?
Have you ever noticed that he does that? Whoa.
Yeah, I rode my bike home, and I burst into the front door, and I said, Corinne, we're giving the $30,000 to the church. And she was really mad at me.
I love being up here to tell the other side of all the stories that you know. And it had nothing to do with the money. Like, of course, I would give it to the church. I believe in this mission. I am committed to living simply so that others can simply live. We're always really generous. If that wasn't the point, like, buddy, were you going to talk to me about it? Like, this is our money. We're partners. We've been doing this for the last 3 weeks about how we were going to spend it, and you can have this lovely time with God and come home and let me know how it's going to be. So
I said to Corinne.
Then he backpedaled.
I backpedaled. I was like, you know what? Would you? That's how you backpedal, by the way. So I said, hey, could you mind spending some time with God and see if maybe he would say the same thing to you?
Yeah, and I said, well, I don't need to spend any time with God. Obviously, I know that we can give it to the church, but I'm still mad at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to say this kind of on that note. I know Spencer talked earlier about how the fact that All Is Bright is the biggest it's ever been, and there's a big number, right? $500,000. I want to tell you what my personal number is. I have a number within that number, and it's the only number I'm going to focus on. And that number is 100. And so my goal, my prayer for us, for everyone who calls Southside Church home, is that 100% of us would contribute, would participate. Everyone would ask God, what would a sacrificial gift look like for me this year? And here's the truth. For some people, that would be $10. That's incredible. God sees your heart. For others, that might be $10,000. It might be $1 million. It's incredible. God sees your heart. That's the point, because we believe at Southside, we've always believed, it's just who we are. That when we accept God's invitation into blessing, we never regret it. When we follow his example of radical generosity, we find out that we can't outgive God. So that's the plan. So I would love it if between now and November 30th, you could be praying and asking God what he would have you give.
And I want you guys to all know that the leaders here, the staff here, we go first in these things. We never ask you guys to do something we're not doing. So like this coming Wednesday is our staff deadline for all of us to come with our pledges for All Is Bright. So all of our staff families have been praying and asking God what they're going to give over and above what they already give. So I just wanted you to know that. We go first.
So to kind of summarize today, overarchingly, this whole idea of headship and leadership, it's a joyful responsibility. Like a couple weeks ago, George Franco was talking about how God created Adam, you know? And at one point, God looked at Adam and said, it's not good for man to be alone. I'm gonna make for him a companion, a suitable helper. And maybe you hear that word helper and you're like, yeah.
The hired help.
The hired help, the little
here.
woman, you know what I mean?
Someone to pick up after Adam.
Okay, so here's the thing. It's important to note that word helper comes from the Hebrew word ezer. Maybe you've heard this phrase before, Jehovah Ezer. What does that mean? The Lord is my helper. In the New Testament, the Holy Spirit is referred to as our helper. So in this human relationship, Corinne plays that same role. She plays a role to encourage me, to comfort me, to help me with direction, to convict me. Convict me. That's an interesting word, isn't it? See, what I would suggest to you is that if God calls you into marriage, one of the purposes for that marriage is that you would become the person you were created to be. You can't do that when you're not cooperating in a full partnership. Like a few weeks ago, I was hanging out with a buddy and actually two friends, and we got talking about a topic. I don't even remember what the topic was, but I got really passionate. And in the middle of me getting really passionate, one of them says to me, it's a really good friend of mine. He says, Mike, you get really scary when you get passionate. And I don't know what else he said that day, but man, did that stick with me. Because I started to ask myself, what would it be like to be raised by me?
At our house, we called it the Psycho Mike look. Right?
Yeah. And I guess that's the point, is that throughout our marriage, throughout our parenting, Corinne's not scared of me. Corinne would say, hey man, you're bringing the Psycho Mike vibes.
Scaring the children.
Yeah, right? What a blessing. Like who would any of us be without those people in our lives who speak truth to us? And who better to speak truth to me than the person closest to me? Why would I ever shut that out or think that there's a trump card that I need to play? That would be odd, right?
And that's another thing we've grown into. Like, this isn't something that we did minute one. Remember, we've been married for 33 years. Like, we didn't always say, oh, thank you for bringing that to my attention. You are the Holy Spirit in my life. You know, I was so defensive. I used to be so defensive. Not anymore at all. I'm still a little bit defensive, but yeah. So anyways, this was a journey.
A journey. So I just kind of want to wind it up there, and I want to go back to one of the things that we said earlier, and here's what it is, that God's really not a cosmic killjoy. He's really not a drill sergeant. He's a perfect father who loves you fully, completely, and absolutely. He's not going to force you into anything. He's not going to bully you, but he invites you into blessing. He loves you so much, in fact, that he sent his son for you. That Jesus came and died so that you could be forgiven. You could be made brand new. He rose again for you so that you can live, really live, in the truest sense of the word, today, tomorrow, and forever. But he's not going to force you. He won't. He doesn't work that way. He's always going to invite you. So before we go any further today, what I would really love is if we could take a moment of reflection. So if you don't mind, if you could close your eyes and bow your heads just for a second, and let me ask this question. Is today the day that you want to accept his invitation? Everything that needed to be done has been done by Jesus. And now he invites you to step into that blessing, step into that forgiveness, step into that salvation. So if today is your day, with all eyes closed, with all heads bowed, do you want to just raise your hand nice and high so I can pray for you right now? Amazing. Amazing. If you're watching online and it's safe to do so, I would love if you raise your hand also if today is your day. I love that. I love that. You can put your hands down. I'm going to pray out loud. Just invite you to pray silently along with us. So Jesus, today, after all that you've given to me, I give you my life. I accept your forgiveness. I accept your salvation. Thank you for your death and your resurrection. I want to live for you today, tomorrow, and forever. In your name, amen. Amen. Can we celebrate that? So the number of baptisms today keeps going up. I think we got close to 55 people that are going to be baptized today, plus you. Plus you. And what I mean by that is maybe you didn't sign up for baptism today, but God's going to call you. He's going to invite you into blessing. He always invites you into blessing. And so maybe, Corinne, you could just kind of end us off with our baptism story when we were 22 and 23.
Yeah, we had been married for a few years, and I don't know why I never got baptized. I was a Christian from the time I was little, and I just had never taken that step. And Mike was baptized as an infant, but as a believer, he'd never been baptized. And we'd been married a couple years. I was pregnant with Tori, our first child, and we were at church, and there was a call to baptism. And individually, we both felt God say, like, it's time to take this step. And like looking back now, that was a turning point in our marriage. Like that act of surrender to God, that act of obedience to God, it put us on a better path, a different path. Not that everything was like immediately better, but we were just moving in a different direction together.
Yeah, so if you believe in Jesus, maybe you just raised your hand today. Your next step is to get baptized. If you put your faith in Jesus 40 years ago, but you haven't been baptized as a believer yet, that's your next step. We want to celebrate with you. So for those of you who are signed up, it's going to be awesome. But maybe you didn't sign up, but today you realize he's not a cosmic killjoy. He's not a drill sergeant. He's the Father inviting me into blessing. Believe and be baptized, the Bible says. So we're going to have a baptism team over there against that wall. If you didn't sign up, but you want to get baptized, we've already said all the clothes and all the stuff you could need are there. You just walk up to that team. They'll have a couple quick questions for you, and we get to celebrate with you. It's going to be incredible. Are we good?
We're good. We're done.
Love you guys. Why don't you stand as the band plays?
Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. I still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense. So I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength. 'Cause I bless. He's never let me down. He's faithful in every season. So why would he fail now? He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. When everything around me is shaking, I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus. 'Cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't came and blew, but my house was built on it. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Rain came and blew, my house was built on it. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Rain came and blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause I'm standing strong on you. Oh, I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause my house is built on you. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. When everything around me is shaking, I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus.
I just want to take a moment and speak to those who maybe want to get baptized, but you just can't seem to get your feet moving. Maybe your heart is pounding, your mind is racing with all the reasons why today isn't the day. But if you believe in Jesus and you haven't been baptized, there's no better time than right now. We have towels, we have a change of clothes. It's recorded for your loved ones to watch. So while we sing this next song, I encourage you, let's head over there and take this next step.
I've come to the end of myself. I know that without you I'm broken. I put all the pieces of me at your feet. 'Cause what you speak is what I need. Hear my soul cry desperately. Here I am. I've come to the end of myself. And nothing else, everything at your feet. The little things, everything in between. Surrendering every part of me. Everything, everything at your feet. Oh, you pulled me out of the dark. Now I'm running out in the open. I'm starting over again, second chance to begin. Everything at your feet, the little things, everything in between. Surrendering every part of me. Everything, everything at your feet. Everything at your feet, the little things, everything in between. Surrendering every part of me. Everything, everything at your feet. Everything at your feet.
At your feet.
Your forgiveness freely offered, never wavers, never falters, leaving my past on the altar. I lay it down, I lay it down. All the broken put together, all the orphans, sons and daughters, leaving our past on the altar. I lay it down, I lay it down. Your forgiveness freely offered, never wavers, never falters, leaving my past on the altar. I lay it down, I lay it down. All the broken put together, all the orphans, sons and daughters, leaving our past on the altar. I lay it down at your feet, all of me. Hear my soul cry desperately. Here I am. I've come to the end of myself. I need you and nothing else. Everything at your feet. The little things, everything in between. Surrendering every part of me. Everything, everything at your feet. Everything at your feet. The little things, everything in between. Surrendering every part of me. Everything, everything at your feet. Everything at your feet. forgiveness freely offered, never wavers, never falters, leaving my past on the altar. I lay it down, all the broken put together, all the orphans, sons and daughters, leaving our past on the altar. I lay it down, your forgiveness freely offered, never wavers, never falters, leaving my past on the altar. I lay it down, all the broken put together, all the orphans, sons and daughters, leaving our past on the altar. I lay it down, 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 I lay it everything at your feet, the little things, everything in between, surrendering every part of me. Everything at your feet, oh, everything at your feet, the little things, everything in between, surrendering every part of me. Everything at your feet.
All right, wasn't that amazing? Let's celebrate one more time. Yeah. You know what? It's always a good time here. We would love to see you back next Sunday, same time. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.